the stand. Now he runs. He produces a magic trick. He pulls out another one. This is incredible. This is ridiculous. This is 15 out of 10 on the incredible meter. What a player. What an entertainer. Give him the medal. Give him the Delier medal.
Hello, footy fans, and welcome back to the Chip and Chase podcast. We're here on our Monday, this beautifully cold Monday afternoon it is today. Getting around to this one a bit late in the day, a lot of stuff to do, busy life I live. But we're here to wrap up everything that was of round 12 of the NRL season. Indigenous round it was, and we got some really exciting footy, a really great round. You guys know how much I enjoy Indigenous round in the NRL. And I think the quality of footy was just, it was fitting for the round, to be honest. So let's kick things off with our team of the week. So as you guys know, we do a graphic for this one, little design that we put up on the Instagram. If you guys are not following the Instagram, please go and do so. That is at Chip and Chase Podcast. Not just for this, where you can, comment down below or DM me and let me know who you think should have made it. But just for any and all other content, got a lot more in the works, a lot more Supercoach content coming as well. So for you guys who are a bit of a Supercoach fiend, stay tuned on the podcast and on the Instagram. So let's kick things off with this team of the week. At fullback for round 12, we've gone with James Tedesco. What an origin, a last-minute origin audition tape he put on. Obviously the team lists were announced last night and he didn't make it, but he couldn't have done anything more in round 12 to get into that team. I thought he was tremendous. We will speak more on him, more in depth, and look at his stats a bit further in the review of that game. But yeah, Tedesco, he's the fullback. He beat out some of the likes of Keanu Kinney. Dylan Edwards had another great game, who just got named in the Origin side. Latrell Mitchell in Indigenous round was fantastic. Lots of great performances in the fullback role, but I thought Tedesco was the pick of the bunch there. So he is our fullback. On the wings, we have Jacob Kiraz on the right-hand side, though I guess the sides don't really matter. But Jacob Kiraz makes our team of the week on the wing, along with Tommy Talau. Both of these players had really, really good games, both scoring a double to my memory. I know Talau definitely did. I'm pretty sure Kiraz scored a double. Even if Kiraz didn't, I know his meter gaining and his offloading, everything about him when I was watching that game, he's just a weapon. But again, we will look further into these players' stats in detail in the games. But those are my wingers, Tommy Talau, Jacob Kiraz. In the centres, we've gone to Valentine Holmes, despite the sin bin, which we'll also speak more on, which I thought was pretty soft. I thought Valentine Holmes had a fantastic game. Another one of those players who's just heading into Origin. He's had a pretty down season, in my opinion. Valentine Holmes, I think, has been quite poor, especially by his lofty standards. But this game, he was really, really great. So a great little performance to put on just before Origin. The other centre from the final round of the game, Herbie Farnworth. If the Dolphins won that game, he might have been my player of the entire round. He was absolutely tremendous. I can't speak highly enough of Herbie as a signing for the Dolphins. I'm really excited to talk a bit more about him. It's fresh on the mind from the last game of the round against my Warriors. So I was watching very closely to realise how good he was. But yeah, Herbie Farnworth and Valentine Holmes are my centres. Into the halves, we've gone with Matt Burton at 5'8". A lot of good 5'8" to choose from this week. I thought Matt Burton, again, right in the limelight for Origin selection, put on a great little performance, as the Bulldogs just put on a fantastic game in general, headlined by Matty Burton. So he gets into that side. Halfback might have been the trickiest position for the entire team of the week, but we had to go off Jerome Luai against the ladder-leading Sharks without Nathan Cleary, coming off a loss. Everything about the performance of the Panthers, and particularly Jerome Luai, another one in that Origin selection frame. I think it was actually ridiculous what he was doing out there. He was absolutely insane. The Panthers' performance in general, we will get to it, but wow, what a game from them. But yeah, he beat out the likes of Tamane Martin, who I thought was excellent for the Warriors. There's another halfback who's slipping my mind, Sam Walker was fantastic. I'm pretty sure there's another one who I'm forgetting, but we'll probably discuss in my notes when we get to all the games. But Jerome Luai, my halfback, Matt Burton, my 5'8". For the team of the week. Into the front row, it's also quite fitting here because we have the two best front rowers in rugby league, Payne Haas and James Fisher-Harris. You could argue Adam Fanua-Blake's up there, but of course he didn't play this week, so wasn't quite eligible for selection. But Payne Haas and Fisher-Harris, both of these players scored tries, front row scoring tries and just bringing exactly what their sides needed. Again, stats-wise, Payne Haas is ridiculous. He always blows it out of the water. But Fisher-Harris, the aggression, his defensive intensity, everything that he brings, it's not so much measured on stats, and he brought all of that to that Panthers performance, which is why they had the game that they did. So Fisher-Harris, I thought he was excellent. Damien Cook as the hooker wasn't the best week for hookers, not in the sense that any of them played particularly poor. I thought every hooker had a pretty decent game, but it wasn't like a standout like the Harry Grant of last week where he scored 2 tries and whatnot. Damien Cook, though, he did score a nice try. Another one who might have been quite far down the pecking order of New South Wales selection this time, but he's almost an incumbent. He deserved to have that shot, and he had a great game to put his name in there. Didn't get selected, obviously, Damien Cook, but had a really good game for the Rabbitohs at hooker. So here's my hooker in the team of the week. The second rowers, quite a hotly contested field here, but we've gone with Mitch Barnett from the Wars and Dave Fifita from the Titans. I mean, Fifita, now that he's starting, you expect to pencil his name in here every week, normally along with Angus Crichton, who had another great game this week, but I thought Mitch Barnett has edged him out, along with Jeremiah Nanai, I thought was fantastic. There's another couple second rowers who I thought were excellent. But Mitch Barnett in that last game against the Dolphins, maybe it's the Warriors bias, I'm happy to cop that, but watching that game, his defensive intensity, the way he was going about his business, and congratulations to him for getting caught up into the New South Wales squad. Well deserved. Should be on the bench or in the starting side, but we'll work with what we got. At least we're getting back for the Wars over that period. But yeah, Mitch Barnett, absolutely incredible game from him. And at lock forward this week, Keon Koloamatangi. Not usually a lock forward, not usually a middle. Played a bit there this season in between prop and lock, and second row, his usual position. But he was fantastic. It was outstanding for the Bunnies at lock forward this week. It's I still don't think he's a lock forward going forward. Definitely not. I think his best position is on the edge. But at the moment in this Rabbitohs team, and with the way he just played, it might be the way to go for at least the short term, because he was outstanding, beating out anybody and everybody this week. Your Paddy Carrigan, who's penciled in every week, he didn't make the side, which is very crazy to see. But yeah, Keon Koloamatangi, he certainly did. Fantastic game from him. Now onto the bench. If you guys don't know how the bench selection criteria works, we pick the best outside back who didn't make the starting 13, the best spine player who didn't make the starting 13, the best forward who didn't make the starting 13, and my pick for the best bench player of the round. So jersey 14, this is the best outside back who didn't make the starting 13. Beau Fermor. I know, weird one. You hear his name and you're thinking, hang on, he should be in the forwards category. Well, he was named to start in the second row initially. He ended up starting this game at center and played the entire game at center, maybe even on the wing a couple of times with how that game played out. And he was excellent. He was tremendous. He's had a habit of, they mentioned in commentary, he's started in the centers maybe 4 times in his career, and I think he scored in every single one of those. Another one, add that to the tally. He was, wow. He was fantastic, Beau Fermor, and the Titans in general, we will get to him. But yeah, he really led that charge, so shout out him. The best spine player, look, it probably could have been Keanu Kinney here, or even Dylan Edwards. Yeah, a lot of players. Sam Walker. I had to go with Tomato Martin. It felt really strange not having the Warriors in. Like even last week, we sort of snubbed them in the halves despite the upset that they produced. This week, with the side that they had, for Tomato Martin to do what he did and lead this side around the park and get a win, it's simply ridiculous. And I think the occasion of it simply elevated him above players who might have had better individual games, but just the status of this game and how it all played out, I think Tomato Martin had to be my best spine player of the week who didn't make the starting 13. So there he is in jersey 15. Jersey 16, our best forward. Lots and lots of names to choose from here. Of course, you're looking at front row, second row, and lock forward. So lots of players. I went with Jeremiah Nanai for the North Queensland Cowboys. Scored another double, as he seems to just make a habit of. Again, right, pressing on to Origin claim, not had his best season than especially recently, and, you know, the Cowboys' struggles are well documented, but I thought he did a fantastic, but put his name in the ring big time, and, you know, the Queensland team was named this morning, and he did indeed make that side. Maybe off the back of this performance, we'll have to, well, I guess we'll never know, but he was, fantastic. And the best bench player of the round, Josh Curran. Look, there could have been other ones again. You know, Alex Twal had a fantastic game off the bench, scoring a meat pie. Alex Twal, I love that. Actually, I think he might have started at lock, so skip that. He was named off the bench, but I'm pretty sure he started, actually. There were other ones I'm forgetting about, but as we'll get into in this first game of the round, the impact, the simple impact, not necessarily statistically driven, but the impact Josh Curran had on the Bulldogs when he came onto the field was simply incredible, and that is why he's my best bench player of the round. But we will touch on that a little more in detail when we get into that game, which, sure enough, it's the first game of the round. So let's get into the Bulldogs versus the Dragons, shall we? Overall, look, I really enjoyed this game. The first half especially was just really, really good. I loved the grind of these two teams. I thought Moses Sully out early was unstoppable. I thought he was going to have a field day. 400. It seemed like he was good for 400 meters. He was terrorizing Stephen Crichton, who we know is the best center in the game, especially like the best defensive center in the game. Moses Sully he just took that challenge with both hands and just went at him, and he was cooking him. I love to see it. Just the first half in general, thought was just really, really entertaining, really close. Lots of players performed really well from both sides. Then, of course, the second half rolled around and the Dragons just didn't come out to play. It was 12-6 leading into halftime, I believe. And then the Bulldogs went on to score in the 46th, the 52nd, the 56th, the 60th, the 67th, the 70th, and the 78th minutes. So they ran in, what's that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 unanswered tries in that second half. So what? They scored 38 points in one half of footy. They nearly outscored the clock in that second half. The Dragons, it's incredibly disappointing because I tipped them, as you guys all know. It was a really poor, not the best day, not the best week to open up my tipping and bets little segment on the podcast, not on the podcast, on the Instagram page. Again, go and check that out. We went 0 from 4 from our bets this week, a few close ones, but no cigars. And then the tipping, I went 3 from 8 this week. I tipped the Dragons at halftime. I'm like, they're right up for it. They can do this. Obviously played out a bit differently. But let's look at a couple standouts for the Dragons. Now, we say a couple because there were only a couple. That second half really put a sour note on this game for them. They started really well, but obviously it doesn't matter how you play individually when that performance comes. But for them, we mentioned Moses Sully already. He was just absolutely outstanding in that first half. His stats for the game include 1 try, 14 runs for 136 meters. I almost guarantee 100, or I'd say about 100 at most, or at least, came in that first half. But a try, 136 meters, a line break, 8 tackle breaks. He was, as I said, terrorizing Stephen Crichton early. Thought he was really, really good. Jack DeBellin, one of my favorite players, just to watch. I love players like him who just go about and just tackle everything that they see. So what I've really liked about Zach Hosking earlier this year before he got injured, but Jack DeBellin, he's in every single tackle. He played 69 minutes at lock forward. And in that time, he had 15 runs, 159 meters. He had 5 tackle breaks. He had no offloads from Jack DeBellin, which is very, very strange. But he also made 41 tackles and missed 0. So I thought those two for the Dragons were really, really good. I thought Francis Molo had some really good moments. He actually punched out 56 of his own minutes. So that's some really good time for Molo. 12 runs, 112 meters. Beyond that, unfortunately, Zach Lomax, I guess, had his moments as well, still doing his work of 21 runs and 196 meters. That's sort of where the praises sort of ended. It all sort of happened in this game. Let's touch on it. Jack Bird went off with, at first glance, one of the worst injuries I'd ever seen, probably the worst looking thing I'd seen since Jarrell Yao-Yee's injury in 2012, which we all know about that. Devastating stuff. When watching that happen to Jack Bird, I was I was devastated for him. It was really, really hard to watch. Just his run with injuries is just, he's had such wretched luck, and I feel so sorry for him. I was, quite emotional watching it. And like, I don't know Jack Bird from, a bloke down the street, never met him before in my life, but just knowing players like that and seeing that happen, it's really tough. It was really, really relieving to hear that apparently it is not as severe as first thought. It looked like it could be a compound fracture of the ankle. Like, it was bad. Turns out there's no actual damage to the bone, or at least I believe that's what's been reported. And he's looking to miss like 4 to 6 weeks or something like that, which is such good news considering what could have been. But that injury, what happened in the wake of that was that Tom Eisenhuth moved out to centre. And it was one of the worst individual performances defensively I have ever seen in my entire life. Now, Tom Eisenhuth is normally a really good defender, especially at the middle and, at second row. He makes these tackles. He's been in the Storm system. Like, you don't miss tackles. You're not picked in the Storm side if you can't tackle. So it's not to say he's a bad tackler, but in this game, it was a shocker. He got absolutely skinned by Jamin Salmon in one of the poorest attempted tackles I'd ever seen. And then he doubled down and missed a tackle on Jacob Kiraz. That, again, was one of the worst tackles I've ever seen. And then he tripled down and missed a tackle on Jacob Preston, which, again, was one of the worst tackle attempts I had ever seen. 3 tries were, at least 3 off the top of my head from what I remember and what I noted down, directly through him. And it's not all his fault. The inside cover wasn't ideal, but you have to make a better effort than what he did. It was just arm-grabbing sort of stuff, and it was, really, really poor. And I'm sure he's the first to admit that. I'm almost convinced there had to be an injury or just something. Like, it doesn't make sense that Tom Eisenhuth goes from being such a great defender to that. I know he's playing in the centres, and the reads are different and harder. Centre's probably the hardest position on the field to get those reads right. But it wasn't so much the reads he was struggling with. It was just his tackle attempts, and they were like that. It's harsh to say, but they were some of the worst I've ever seen. They were dreadful. So hopefully he can bounce back from that, because, it was a tough one. But essentially, when that Jack Bird injury happened, I think it was just before halftime. So when it came out in that second half, it was Tommy Eisenhuth defending there. The Bulldogs just went at him and found so much success down that edge that why wouldn't you keep doing it? So, really unfortunate for the Dragons, and really disappointing from Tommy Eisenhuth. Beyond the couple of players I mentioned there weren't too many standouts. Matt Hamsaleh was another one that went down injured in this game. I think after like one run, he came from the field, which was quite disappointing. But like Jaden Sewer, for instance, a player I've been such a big fan of this season, thought he was really disappointing as well, just from what I expect of Jaden Sewer. Didn't get through nearly as much work as I would have liked, and even he was falling off a few tackles, which, I just expect a bit more from Jaden Sewer. I really love him as a player. Not too many positives to note, unfortunately. Luciano Leilua looked all right in his return from injury, and I'd like to see him get some more minutes in the future. But, Dragons, quite disappointing. Jacob Little, also want to give him a shout out. He's been quite underrated this year. I think he scored a try in this one. Yeah, he did score a try. He also made a really great break early in the first half as well. Played the full 80. So what were his stats for the game? There's a try. There's 2 line breaks. There's how many tackles? 49 tackles. He did miss 4 and have 3 ineffective. But you're playing 80 minutes in the middle and you're making 50 tackles there. Like, it can't be excused as per se, but you can sort of if you want to. So I thought Little was all right. But beyond that, let's move over to the Doggies, who, just ran away with it. They were thoroughly deserving of this victory. A game that I thought they could win, but after that first half, I was pretty confident the Dragons were up for the grit and grind and they were going to come away with it. Not the case. The Bulldogs, there wasn't a player in their side who played a poor game, to be honest. I'll start with Jamin Salmon. I had written down notes already that he gave away, I think it was 3 penalties inside the Dragons' red zone, which just got the Dragons out of trouble in that first half. So I wrote down those notes really quickly going, really, really poor. You've got to be better than that. Like it's inexcusable when you do all the hard work. Your forwards do the hard work. I know he's a forward, so he's part of that. He's doing the hard work. When your forwards do the hard work, then your half gets a great kick away, and you pin them down their 20. For then to just give away a relieving penalty, it's a cardinal sin. Like it's inexcusable. It's so tough to deal with as a coach. And to do it 3 times in one half of footy, I was like, that's just... One of them, in fairness, was a high tackle on, I think it was Ravalawa, who slipped. Like, that one you can excuse. Yes, it was a penalty in the red zone, so it counts towards my stats here. But, like, you can't really do too much about that one. The other one's just not good enough. However, he did redeem himself really well in the game, Jamin Salmon. He scored himself 2 little tries. He played 69 minutes, Jamin Salmon. Scored himself 2 tries. He had 8 runs for 85 metres, 1 line break. Just fantastic stuff from Jamin Salmon in that second half. So got to give him his credit for that. Beyond that, though, for the Bulldogs, beyond Jamin Salmon, I just thought the effort from their entire side to rally beyond this. Like, there's one thing to be down at halftime, and they weren't down by much. So I'm not trying to say that the Dragons had it all over them and they rallied beyond recognition. But there's one thing to be down and come back to win the game. There's another to be down and just go out and absolutely demolish the team. So Cameron Cirata, you guys would have heard earlier in this season all my thoughts and worries about him. They're quickly all getting squashed. What he is getting up to, the performances he's getting out of his troops are just absolutely spectacular. And genuinely, there's not a player on this side who didn't pull their weight. We talked about Josh Curran very briefly, just the impact he had when he was on the field. I just thought he was immense. It was one of the all-time work rates I've ever seen in a stint on the field. So he, as I said, came off the bench. I think he played 40 straight. In those 40 minutes, I think there might have been a halftime in and amongst that. So it's 40 minutes that he was on the field, without being subbed. But of course, he got the break at halftime. But in 40 minutes, he had 19 runs for 173 metres, which topped the metres for the Bulldogs forwards. Actually, it's equal with Max King, who played a substantial bit longer than Josh Curran. But yeah, 19 runs, 173 metres. He had 2 tackle breaks. He just worked so hard. He had a couple of offloads. He was in every tackle under the sun. Yeah, 22 tackles as well. 40 minutes, guys, not long at all. Half the game. So imagine doubling those stats. Obviously, you can't just do it like that. Fatigue and everything sets in. But that's the point I'm trying to make here. He just went at it and went so hard in his time on the field. And that's what you want. If you're a bench player, I know myself in the times I've come off the bench, which has been a lot of my career, to be honest, you just want to make your impact on the field as much as you can, so then you can work yourself back into bigger minute roles or starting roles. And Josh Curran, we know he's a starting quality player, but he's not crying and he's not weeping about being on that bench. He's just working hard to do his job for the team. So I absolutely love what I'm seeing from Josh Curran, a player I'd love to still have at the Warriors at the moment. Beyond that, for the Bulldogs, we'll just run through some names. As I said, every player in this game was fantastic. Connor Tracy, again at fullback, just a lot safer this game. 24 runs for 202 metres as well, plus a little try assist in there. So he's killing it at fullback. I think by the sounds of it, they're going to start developing Blake Taff into a half, whatever you want to do. Toby Sexton, which, you know what, let's go to Sexton right now. I thought Sexton was fantastic getting his shot at halfback in this one. I think he has to stay there, and that's no knock to Drew Hutchison. I just think Toby Sexton is younger. He's got youth on his side. You can definitely build the club around him and Birdo in the halves, especially with the way that they linked up in this one. I thought they were so good that just linking together, having their sides of the field, the kicking game being shared, it was just a really good combination. So I loved Toby Sexton's work out there today. Well, sorry, today in this game. Wasn't today, funnily enough. But no notable stats, but definitely just something that you have to just look at that performance and see how controlled he was, because he was really, really good. Speaking of Matty Burton, what a final audition for Origin. Once again, we talked about it a little bit with Tedesco. Matty Burton, fantastic. He couldn't have done much more to make his way into the New South Wales side. He's currently been named the 18th man, which I think is ridiculous. If you guys didn't see the New South Wales podcast, I'd have him at centre, or at least bringing that utility off the bench. So to have him at 18th man, I think is just it's almost unfair on Matt Burton with the way he's been this year and what New South Wales need. But he scored 2 tries. He went 5 from 8 in the goal kicking department. He had 8 runs for 80 metres. Just like, yeah, what can you say about Matty Burton? He's been tremendous. Jacob Kiraz, another who made our team of the week. This is why. 2 tries from Jacob Kiraz on the wing, 26 runs for 259 metres. Just astronomical amounts of meters. He did have 3 line breaks thrown in, 6 tackle breaks, 2 offloads. That is a Jacob Kiraz performance if I've ever seen it. Thought he was quite strong in defence as well. So, like, he was a clear choice for our team of the week. And, God, you think of the players that get tossed around for New South Wales at the moment. You know, we're talking Joseph Suaalii making the side. I know he made it at centre, so I'm not going to be... This isn't just a Joseph Suaalii shot. But Jacob Kiraz, the way he's been performing this year, why isn't he getting tossed around in it? What he can bring, what the work rate he does. Imagine the combo of Jacob Kiraz and Brian To'o coming out of your own end. Like, that is ridiculous. You probably don't need a forward pack with those two. So... yeah, the way he's been playing this year, I love that he's not been thrown up in Origin conversations, because it means he can just keep giving his all for this Bulldogs side, which he just bleeds for. And love that for him. Beyond that, as I said, every other player had their moments. Stephen Crichton started off quite poorly against Moses Suli, but really warmed into the game. Josh Adokar was fantastic on the left-hand side. A couple of line breaks from him. 12 runs, 159 metres. Love the work rate he's doing. Bronson Sherry was really good. Max King, we talked about, with 173 metres from 14 runs, by the way, in only 49 minutes on the field. So just... yeah, really good stuff. Reid Marnie, he got a spell in this game finally, but he was good. Sam Hughes, good. There's not a player in this Bulldogs side who wasn't good. Jacob Preston off the bench as well. 47 minutes, 1 try, 13 runs, 129 metres. Just genuinely, as I said, was not a player that wasn't good. Every player was making incredible meters. The Dragons' defense was so passive. I know a lot of it came, as I said, when they made that switch at centre. And the Bulldogs, they just identified that. And even if they didn't, they could get success from every part of the field at that point. So you can't put it all down to that Tom Eisenhoff to centre switch. The Bulldogs just came out to play. Every single player was enormous. And they knew they were there to win, and they were fantastic. So massive congratulations to the Doggies for that one. I'm sure fans are quite confident moving into the rest of the season and into the coming seasons. Think about the rebuilds in its second year of development. There's so much more good to come of this side. So really exciting stuff, Doggies fans. We will, however, move into the next game between the Cowboys and the Tigers. The Cowboys winning this one 42-28. So a comprehensive victory, something the Cowboys have needed, but it's not as comprehensive as they did need, to be honest. Still conceding 28 points to the Tigers, who, yeah, they're a better side than they were last year. It's not the 66 points or something that the Tigers put on them from last year. But the Tigers, their attack has been the biggest problem in their side all season. And then they score probably, the most points that they've scored all season? They'd be up there. I think the Sharkies game might have been their most. This is going to be a quick ramble through as I look through this. So they didn't play round 1. Round 2, they scored 12 points. So Sharkies round 3, 32 points is currently their highest of the season. Then 17, definitely not higher. 16, definitely not higher. 12... Look, I won't go through all of it. You know what? I am going to go through all of it. 6, 10, 14, and 14. Yeah, look. So 28 points is the second most points the Tigers have scored all season. And of course, it comes against the Cowboys. So the Cowboys, they need to fix that up. Tigers have been averaging something like 14 points a game, and they double that. which just goes to show if there's any other team that isn't the Tigers, with the utmost respect to the West Tigers, if there's any other team versus the Cowboys there, they'd probably put 50 on them. It's just that simple. I'm really worried about the Cowboys. I know they scored 42. They got the victory. It's something they needed. Their attack hasn't been the issue. We know that they can attack. They play some of the most exciting and fun to watch footy I've seen, but their defense is awful and it needs to fix up. But let's go into the Tigers and go through their positives first. I thought they looked really lethargic quite early. I mean, they let in 3 tries within like 15 minutes of the game. Beyond that, I think for the rest of the second half, they really turned it around and they played really solid, and I was really hoping would get a bit of a game. The second half, the Cowboys did blow it away. It just goes to show that the Cowboys, their habit of just going in and out of games, like you put 3 tries on in 15 minutes, go on with it. Be ruthless. Put them to the sword and put 74 on them or whatever you did to them last year, respectfully. But they didn't do that. They let the Tigers just build momentum and just play through the middle. And the Tigers, they did work their way back into the game. I am seeing a lot in the Tigers that I like. I know they conceded 42, and that's a problem. Like the Tigers, don't get me wrong, I think they will finish bottom 3 this season, but I don't think they get the spoon. So it is a much better improvement from the last few seasons, and I'm seeing promise in them. Their defense needs work. Their attack has needed work all season, but there's a bit there. And I think with the right signings going ahead, that they can, work into it. But it was really good to see them respond from that lethargic start that I thought they had, and they worked into the game. The Cowboys' second half sort of put them to the sword, unfortunately. But in terms of standout players for the Tigers, I mean, let's start with the GOAT, Alex Twal, scoring his second NRL try. What a weapon. You got to love it. I know it doesn't have the magic of the first time, but I think for the rest of his career, he's just going to be, whenever he scores, he's still going to get so much excitement. Hearing the commentators lose it over him. I think it was Vossi commentating this game, which I love. It's just so good to see. But 64 minutes at lock forward for Alex Twal, named off the bench, didn't end up playing off the bench. He scored a try. He had 10 runs for 104 metres, and he had 40 tackles with, you guessed it, 0 misses. He is an absolute workhorse for them and just deserves a try every week. It's such a shame he can't have them every week. He's such a weapon. So I thought he was fantastic for him. In a side that's conceding that many points, it's so weird that you have like the best player, one of the best defensive players we've ever seen, and you still concede all these points. So there needs to be investigations across the park. I mean, in fairness, they were up against it with essentially either rookie or just really low games backline. Dream Buller, this is still only his second season. Charlie Staines still quite early into his career. Declan Casey and Josh Fellerty were the centres in this one. Like a few games between them combined, respectfully. Solomon Alamalo, apologies for that. Also very new to the sport, let alone the NRL. He was caught out quite early defensively as well, but he did strike back with a nice try of his own, which was his first try in the NRL. So that was really good to see. Shout out Solomon for that. But yeah, there's a lot of not excuses, but there are a few reasons that you can look at and go, yeah, you understand where it's coming from. Once again, luckily, I thought Lachlan Galvin was exceptional. I've also really liked Jaden Sullivan the last couple of weeks. Rumours floating around that they're looking to offload him at the end of the season. I don't hate it, and I don't think that's a Jaden Sullivan problem. I just think if they're going to re-sign Aiden Caesar, which I'm not sure, I doubt it, to be honest. But you've got Jerome Luai coming. You've got Lachlan Galvin. There's your halves pairing for 10 years or so until Luai leaves. You've also got young Fainu in there, who is a highly touted gun. I don't see the need for Jaden Sullivan. But once again, I thought he was really good. So there's no knock on Jaden Sullivan. I think he can go to another club or even go over to the Super League and be one of the best players over there. But 20 runs from him, 150 metres and a try assist. And Lockie Galvin, 19 runs for 199 metres and 2 try assists, a line break assist. It's ridiculous stuff. To see halves having those numbers is wild, and it's a bit scary for the Cowboys to be conceding that many metres to halves. So yeah, we'll get to the Cowboys, but thought the the halves of the Tigers. They worked really hard with what they've got. Beyond that, Appy was good. Samuel Afinu, I thought, had his best game since he's been starting, or probably his best game of the season in general. And I liked seeing Matamua out there. And I thought Fanua Polo was pretty good as well. But not too many positives, unfortunately, for the Tigers, which, you know, we try and find them each week. But it is still a bit of a sour season for the Tigers, but hopefully they can just keep building into it. Moving over to the Cowboys, look, as you've heard in my sort of tone of voice, I'm not going to be too positive here either, unfortunately. I mean, as we said, we've already talked about it, conceding that many points to a team that can't score points in the first place, it's not good enough. 42 points is good, but it doesn't get rid of any issues for me. In fact, I think it just raises more questions. So it's going to be very interesting. I believe they do play this week, don't they? Yeah, they play round 13. Beautiful. Against the Roosters. Now, that's going to be a massive task. It's in Sydney. Roosters, who do they lose? Suoli'i and Crichton to Origin, and that's it. Oh, and Lindsay Collins. So, few outs. And Cowboys lose Valentine Holmes, Reece Robson, Ruben Cotter, Jeremiah Nanai. Feel like I'm missing someone. Murray Talangi. Oh, God. Yeah, it's going to be a very tough game for them. I don't see them getting the win, but I just want them to compete. If they can compete against the Roosters side, and especially defensively, then I think if they lose a game by only conceding 12 or 18 points, I'm much more impressed with that, even if they score 0, than I am with this 42-28 win over the Tigers. It sounds harsh, but that's because we know the expectations of this team. We know how good they can be, and that's where we want them to be. Well, they've got a fantastic team across the park. And, you know, let's get into some of them now and their standouts. Sky Drinkwater, every single week we mention him. Another 16 runs, 176 metres and 3 try assists, 3 line break assists. Just what you expect from Scotty Drinkwater. He's, he's so good. I don't know what to really say. There was, I think, bloke in a bar, Denon, once said, I think it was in the chat about the New South Wales Origin team and who you'd select. He said if you wanted anyone to out-Reece Walsh, Scott Drinkwater would be the man to do it. And you know what? Maybe he's not exactly right there. I don't think anyone can out-Reece Walsh. But if you want anyone close, it is Scott Drinkwater. He does do everything for this side. They're just off-the-cuff footy players, and they're weapons at it. He's so good at what he does. I love what he was up to. Valentine Holmes, we mentioned, had his best game of the season, probably, despite the sin binning, which we'll talk about right now. I did not think that was a good call, and shock horror, it came from the bunker again. It wasn't, I mean, hip drop calls are always from the bunker, and I understand that when, you know, we're trying to stamp the hip drop out of the game. I don't think that's a hip drop at all. I don't think he loses the legs from a drop. It's look, I don't want to get too much into it. We had our massive rant about the bunker last week, but I do think that they got that one wrong. And I'll say it again, with all the technology that we have, how can you get the calls wrong? So yeah, the bunker needs to be blown up. It doesn't need to be blown up. They just need, respectfully, better people in it. I just don't know how the commentators can always sort of get those calls right, but the people refereeing, like the actual video refs, can't get it right. It'll never cease to baffle me, but we'll move on from that. Holmes, exceptional game. He scored 22 points in this one across 2 tries and 6 conversions. He had 4 line breaks, 16 runs, 220 metres, 6 tackle breaks. There's a big reason he found his way into the team of the week this week. Exceptional game from him. Viliame Valea, I really like the way he's been playing this year. I think everybody that they've put into that centre role on the right-hand side has just really been really good there. It's going to be a bit of a selection headache next year, or when everybody's back and full healthy, who actually gets that spot. But it's a good headache to have, providing all that depth. The big thing about Vilea is how his defence has always been in the NRL. It's been a big detriment to his game. He still has a bit to work on, but I'm noticing better reads from him at least, so hopefully he can keep improving on that. Murray Talangi, excellent as well. 165 metres from 12 runs, line break, 4 tackle breaks, just mental stuff. And Tom Dearden, like, look, there's going to be a lot of individual performances, standout performances in this game. That's what happens when you win 42-0. And you've got these stats where you're running 12 times for 165 metres or 178 metres from 12 runs like Tom Dearden. Like, that's going to happen against a poor defence of the Tigers and when you're putting those points on. So there are some exceptional performances from an attacking standpoint that we can look at. As I said, that entire back five, Scott even left out Kyle Felt, who scored 2 tries. Dearden was exceptional. You can look at all of that, but where are the problems coming? I think the last couple of weeks I've said, I'm not sure. Like, I look at their team and I wonder, I look at everybody individually and like, they're having good seasons. So where's the problems? Hylam Lukey, he's been better since coming back. Jeremiah Nanai scored 2 tries, and in attack, I thought he was excellent. I loved his hard running, just the way he'd punch holes into the line. I thought he was really, really good from an attacking standpoint, but once again, he misses 5 tackles, and it's like, I don't know how Billy Slater's gone out and said that David Fifita didn't get selected for Origin because he set high standards and he hasn't hit them. But Jeremiah Nanai does get selected for Origin when he's set high standards. We know that, but he hasn't come even close to hitting them. Despite his try scoring, we know he can do that. That's the big thing about Fifita a couple of years ago. He scored 17 tries, and we're like, we want more. This isn't good. And he completely changed his game, and he's not the fully noted try scorer, but he gets through so much work. Yet Nanai, he's just a try scorer now with really poor reads in defence and bad tackle, efficiency. And he gets into the Origin team. And, I know Nanai's going to step up for Origin. He's a weapon when it comes to representative level, whether it's Queensland, Australia. Like, he's a fantastic player. And again, I'm saying he had a good game in this one, but I think we need to see more. His defense is a big worry for me, just in NRL level. I'm hoping that New South Wales can sort of break him down a bit as well in defence. So we'll have to see how that goes. Ruben Cotter, another weapon. 44 tackles, 0 missed from him. 50 tackles, 0 missed from Reece Robson. So just absolutely mental stuff from those 2 players. Just look, there's a lot of individual standouts, and I've already said that. It doesn't take away from the negatives, but again, I can't really put my finger on where they're coming from a player standpoint. So we'll leave that one there, and we'll move into the next game of the round, which of course were the Manly Seagulls getting an upset victory over the Melbourne Storm. Wow. I won't say I didn't see this coming because I theorised it. I spoke a little bit about it, and I even put a bet on Manly to win. I actually got a nice multi, which is a shame because we mentioned how I went awfully in the multis, in the bets that we advertised to you guys on the Instagram page, and then the ones that I just put down privately were the ones I got up on. So it's all a bit of hearsay, but I did see this one being a close one. It always is the Battle of Brookvale. Manly getting the win though wasn't something I tipped, as you guys probably know. But it was really good to see them do it. The big thing about them, similar to the Cowboys, is can they rein in this defense and can they be consistent against these top teams? Well, they did that in this one. Conceding 20 points to the Storm isn't a bad knock at all. That's only 3 tries. There was a penalty goal thrown in there as well. And they outscored them, which we know they can outscore. But the big thing is they're doing this without Tom Trbojevic. They did it without Tom Tolutau Kula in this one as well, so their backup fullback. I know Storm are still without Cameron Munster and without Ryan Pappenhausen, but I think this is a bigger effort from Manly because we know that the Storm, we know Craig Bellamy always gets his team up for it. So to see this from Manly was really, really encouraging. I'm starting to believe that they will be a top 8 side by the end of the year. And I think if they can get to finals, I think just the class of DCE and Trebojevic's will have them primed and ready to go. So really encouraging stuff to see from Manly. In terms of the Storm, quite disappointing. I'll be honest, guys, this wasn't my favourite game to watch. I think the Storm just had a lot of uncharacteristic errors, not just not errors from being put pressure on or anything, literally just really poor, uncharacteristic lapses in concentration, which you never see from a Craig Bellamy coach side, and they still got within 6 points. So, the Seagulls, they did beat a poor Storm side, but beating a Storm side nonetheless, I think is a great achievement. In terms of how this reflects their season, I still have the Storm a top 4 side and, challenging for a premiership this year. Whether or not they can do it, it all remains to be seen. This one it's a bit of a kick for them. I'm sure they will respond from it. In terms of their standout players, you got to go to Eliesa Katoa again. I think he's probably been their most consistent. Maybe not most consistent. I reckon he would be up there, and that's the big thing about Eliesa Katoa. He's not normally known as a consistent player, but once again, he just keeps providing when they need him to. They look to him in the big moments. That's 9 runs for 87 metres. He scored a try in this one. He had 4 tackle breaks, and he had 30 tackles for 0 missed. He's just, doing his thing. I also thought Tui Kamikamica was really good in this one. Now, it's really interesting. We mentioned last week that I thought Trent Liero at lock forward had been really good for the Storm. He's been moved to the bench now, and Josh King from the front row to lock, and Tui Kamikamica starting. I don't fully like it for the Storm. I like the idea of Liero in that ball-playing lock-forward role as opposed to just 3 middle forwards in King, Welch, and Kamikamica. But I thought Tui Kamikamica had one of the better games of the of probably his season in this one. I thought he was really good. He looked really damaging out there, so really liked what I saw from him. Josh King was really good on the defensive front as well. And Trent Liero, once again, we just mentioned him, would prefer him starting, but I thought he was amazing off the bench for the Storm. In the last couple of weeks when he's come off that bench role, he's really changed the game with his effort. Still got through 50 minutes in this one despite being off the bench. He was also the only Melbourne Storm forward to run for over 100 metres, which I think just goes to show how good Manly's side were in the forward pack. It's been the concern that we've had for the Storm over the past couple of years that we don't think that their forward pack at their best can match it with the other team's forward packs at their best. And I think this just goes to show it. Manly, while not having the best forward pack out there, it's a stronger one on paper than the Storm. And when they're performing the way that they were, this is what happens in a way. But Trent Liero, I thought he was quite good. Beyond that for the Storm, Suafa-Longo, you love seeing him. He's so exciting. Still very raw. You can still a few rough edges that need to be rounded out, but he's so exciting, and you got to love what he brings. He had 21 runs for 212 metres. He, by far and away, topped the tackle count, topped the metre count for the Storm. I thought Jerome Hughes and Tyron Wishart, they were good in the halves. Nick Meaney was pretty decent in attack, but once again, his defensive deficiencies are too glaring to ignore at the moment. And it's tough because, as I said, I'm a big Nick Meaney fan, and I want them to find a role for him. I thought moving him to centre would be great. But once again, centre is a really hard position to adapt to. I hope they persist with him. They're getting enough wins that they can. But, there are just a few too many reads at the moment or misses from Nick Meaney that are quite worrying. It goes to show that essentially every time the Storm play, I bet on whoever's up against Nick Meaney's edge. So I won money on this one. I bet on Tommy Talau, and it was meant to be Luke Brooks, but I ended up putting it on Ben Trebojevic as anytime try scorers and Manly to cover the line, which I got up on. So that was really good odds there. I think you find, I don't know, it's turned into a little bit of a bet chat, but you find good value when you can find a deficiency in a good side, because good sides mean that the odds are already quite high, but you know where they can score their points, and that's through Nick Meaney, unfortunately. Beyond that, though, I thought he did have a good game in attack. Once again, I loved the battle between Sean Bloor and Nathan Brown, kicking things off from about 4 or 5 years ago when Sean Bloor debuted and they went toe-to-toe. I absolutely love a battle like that. You guys know me. I love personal matchups. Seeing these two just go absolutely hammer and tong as hard as they could and get up smiling, or Nathan Brown to get rocked, play the ball, and then straight away he's there screaming at his dummy half, pass me the fucking ball, I'm going again. It's so good to see. I absolutely love it. So I love seeing that battle. But all that really stood out to me for the Storm. In terms of the Seagulls, as we already mentioned, fantastic win for them. It was against a poor Storm side, but you can only play what's in front of you, and they got the job done. In terms of their standouts, well, we'll start with their young fullback, their debutant, Lehigh Hopewate. He came into the side to make his NRL debut in the absence of Tolu Kola, and I thought he did not look out of place at all. Didn't have the extremely exciting moments, which we come to expect from the Hopewate family, or at least anybody playing fullback for Manly. But he was really solid, really safe. 19 runs, 132 metres, so he didn't shy away from work. He had a nice try assist and line break assist thrown in there too. So massive congratulations to Lehigh for his NRL debut, and fantastic effort in the victory as well. Beyond that, for the Seagulls, we mentioned Tommy Talau in our team of the week. Absolutely love what he's doing, whether it's at centre or wing. I think I put him on the wing in my team of the week this week, but he was actually playing centre. So there was a bit of a mishap. Is it mishap the word? I don't know. Bit of an error from me. Just completely slipped my mind. But yeah, Tommy Talau, I've always said I prefer him at centre. I think that's his best position because it can slightly bring in the qualities that he has as a 5'8", which is what I know him for through his junior years. But in this game, he scored 2 tries as well and ran 113 metres from 13 runs as well. 2 line breaks thrown in, 5 tackle breaks, and really good defensively. So love that from Tommy Talau. Beyond that, for the Seagulls, I thought their halves really controlled the game well. Luke Brooks, we mention him every week. I love the role he's playing in this side. He keeps coming up with some really good moments. Another try assist, line break. I remember, this is the funny story I was talking about. So with the multi, I wanted to put it on Luke Brooks, and I must have just clicked the wrong player and ended up with Ben Trbojevic. But I didn't get to watch this game live, so I was at work when it happened, avoided all the spoilers, came back, watched it at like midnight, and I'm just riding Luke Brooks the entire game to score some tries. And he came close on numerous occasions. He had that, it was the young hooker, Gordon Chan Kum Tong, found space through the middle, probably late into the first half or early-ish into the second half, and then went to offload to Brooks, and it hit the ground. But if he finds Brooks there's a try. Luke Brooks crossed another time when there was a bat back from a kick, I think, into Luke Brooks's hands, and he dropped it over the line. And then there was another one where he did a one-on-one strip on Nick Meaney and raced away about 60, 70 metres down the left-hand side and got caught by Nick Meaney. And I'm like, there's another one. All of those. I was riding him home 3 different times. He didn't score. And, I went and did, recorded all of these things and just did a bit of a joke about it, a bit of a bit, if you will. And, then went to screenshot the bet, and it turned out that I put it on Ben Trbojevic anyway, so I didn't need to ride Luke Brooks home, but I thought he was good regardless, so really impressed with him, as I always am. Cherry Evans controlled the game fantastically. Taniela Paseka was fantastic through the middle, 17 runs, 161 metres. Very underrated season he is having. Ola Kawatu, strong in contact, as he always is. Ben Trbojevic, fantastic line he ran and ball from not Nick Meaney, from Luke Brooks to get in behind Nick Meaney and score that try. Jake Trbojevic scored a try on this one as well, so got to shout out that. And as we mentioned, Nathan Brown off the bench I thought was really, really good. So just a really good win from the Seagulls. And hopefully sets them up a bit better for the rest of their season. But we will move on to the Raiders and the Roosters game. The Raiders going down 16-44 in this one. Roosters getting a really comprehensive win over in Canberra. I mean, great game for the Roosters. What more can you say? They're having a really, really good season. I know they're dropping games here and there, but they've had a pretty tough draw, in my opinion, and a few things not go their way. I think they're just building really, really nicely for the back end of the season. I think squad depth, everything about their team, from superstars to just toilers to everything, they've got it all at the moment. And that's where the jokes come from, that they're getting paid under the table. You can keep those jokes coming. I'm all for it. But yeah, their roster is so strong, and all of their players are just playing essentially to their best football at the moment. And this score reflected that. This game reflected that. Essentially, everybody out there had a fantastic game. I mean, early on, Victor Radley playing at second row, which I don't like. I want him at lock forward. But in that second row position, made a fantastic break on the right-hand side. Did he score himself? Might have scored himself. I think he did. Yeah, he scored himself quite early onto the game. Then he found space again later in the game through a very similar play. Hit that line so well. Made a clean break. Linked inside to Luke Keary. Luke Keary raced away. He was in under the posts, got ankle tapped by Hudson Young, and then flicked it to James Tedesco, who did end up scoring that try. So 2 massive moments from Victor Radley in a position that isn't his position. So, like, when you got players that can go and do that, and it's quite baffling, isn't it, that you're moving someone like Victor Radley from lock forward to second row when you've got a team that has Angus Crichton, Satili Tupanua, Siwa Wong, Egan Butcher, Nat Butcher. Like, you've got so much depth there, and you just move Radley out there. So very interesting one for the Roosters there, but hey, they got the job done, so you can't fault it too much. While we're on Egan Butcher, I believe confirmation has come through today that he has ruptured his ACL, which is gutting to hear for Egan. It's gutting to hear for any player. What's crazy though is he did that. It looked like an ACL injury. It was a non-contact knee injury, and it was scary. He played a good bloody 5-10 minutes on that. I'm pretty sure he took a hit up the next set with a done ACL. He didn't look in pain. He was just like, oh, yeah, I'll run it out. Can't be that bad. Yeah, confirmation comes through today that the ACL's done. He will miss the rest of the season, and he was still out there playing on it. So massively tough effort from Egan Butcher. It's gutting to see that happen, but you got to respect that sort of stuff. They're not just the flamboyant superstars in this side, the Roosters. They have these toilers like Egan and Nat who just work through that sort of pain. So you got to respect that. Speaking of toilers, I thought Jared Warrior-Hargreaves was so good in his opening stint. And what's crazy is when he came off, Spencer Leniu came on, and Spencer had one of his best games of the season as well. So, yeah, the Roosters 1-2 punch between their starting front rowers and their off-the-bench front rowers, I think it's the best in the league. The fact you can sub Lindsay Collins, a Australia and Queensland representative forward, and Jared Warrior-Hargreaves, one of the greatest forward front rowers to ever do it. You can sub them off, and you're arguably getting more impact out of Terrell May and Spencer Leniu is simply ridiculous. I've never seen a front row rotation quite like it. Just looking at their meters, yeah, very similar minute splits. Look at that. 42 minutes from JWH and Collins, and 38 minutes from Leniu and May. And in their time in the field, Jared ran 11 times for 120 metres. We're just looking at metres here. Lindsay Collins 5 times for 56. Meanwhile, Spencer Leniu and Terrell May, 12 runs for 125 from Leniu, and 13 runs for 141 from May. So in less time on the field, they dwarfed the meters of the players they replaced. And that is just, it is crazy stuff to see. So you got to respect that from all of them. That's not even saying that any of them had bad games. It's not like Lindsay and Jared had bad games starting. I was just giving Jared a rap. I thought he was outstanding in his opening stint. His carries, he was making so many post-contact meters, always finding his front. I was really, really impressed with Jared Warrior-Hargreaves' form in that first stint. And when he came back, he was pretty good as well. So I think that's going to be the biggest thing for the Roosters heading into the rest of the season and into finals is just their forward pack and how it holds up, because it's so good. I mean, we already spoke about Victor Radley and how good he was with the try, the couple of line breaks, the try, technically not a try assist because I think Keary gets it for the offload, but it's a try assist in my eyes. 10 runs, 119 metres, and how was his tackle count? He made 39 tackles as well on the edge. Did make 4 misses, so goes to show that it's probably... I mean, we always mention the centre and the second row. They're sort of in conjunction. They're very difficult positions to make reads on, so you can't fault him too much there. Angus Crichton scored another try in this one. He's just doing it all. 16 runs for 160 metres from him as well. Brandon Smith playing big minutes at hooker in the absence of Connor Watson. He punched out 64 minutes, 6 runs for 78 metres from him. Look, it's ridiculous what this Rooster side's doing. I think they can win the comp. I really can. I know they've lost a couple games down the, through the rounds and to the Sharkies last week, who I still think are despite their game, which we'll get to. I still think the Sharkies can definitely be threats to the Premiership. This Roosters team, it really scares me. I mean, every player was outstanding. We haven't even mentioned James Tedesco yet, so let's talk about him. He was probably the best player of the week, in my opinion. 2 tries, 19 runs for 153 metres, 2 try assists, 1 line break, 3 line break assists, 9 tackle breaks. It was just, what can you say about Teddy? I don't know how people can be convinced that he's washed. He is so far from it. He's been one of the best players in the NRL this year, one of the best fullbacks, that's for sure. You know, I'd go as far to say that he's having a better season than any Queensland fullback. So, you know, Reece Walsh, you know how much I love him. I'd put Tedesco in that Queensland side, but, you know, that's just me. Anyway, but yeah, look, rest of their team, fantastic. Suoli'i scored a try, had a few conversions, just ran it really hard, 10 runs, 112 metres, try assist, try, line break assist. Fantastic game from Suoli'i. I'm not a Suoli'i hater in any stretch of the imagination. I just think that there are some other players who deserve the spot in New South Wales over him, but he's having a great season, guys. You cannot deny that. Joseph Manu, 14 runs for 173 metres, 2 line breaks, 2 tries. He didn't even make my team of the week, did he? I was meant to put him on the bench. I put bloody Bo Fermor on there, so shout out Fermor, because you've stuffed over Joey Manu there. Just, yeah. Luke Keary, Sam Walker, the way that they're playing their footy in the halves, it's perfect. Everything about this Roosters side is near perfection, and I still think there's changes you could make to it to make it better. I'd still personally have Victor at lock, and I'd have Nat Butcher at second row. But in saying that, Fahu White, who started at lock, played 68 minutes, and he ran the ball 12 times for 122 metres there. So, like, what more can you say about that? How was he in defence? He made 33 tackles of his own as well. So, what can you say, really? They're kicking along so nicely. I can't believe I've started with the Roosters here instead of the Raiders, but let's move over to the Raiders quite quickly. Disappointing, very much so, especially in the nation's capital at your home ground. Look, it's tough. We've never expected the Raiders to compete as much as they have. Well, sorry, we always expect them to compete. That's the nature of this footy side, and that's why they're so good and so loved. But, you know, the wins that they're scraping through, when it comes to competition like the Roosters, I don't think there's too many teams that get by them. You know, this Raiders side, I think you can throw in at least half the other teams in the competition, and they're probably getting done by this score or even worse. So, you know, it's not too much of a blight on the Raiders. I still think they're quite gritty. I think, you know, in that first half, they were still quite solid. It was just, I don't know. It's hard. It's really hard to get a read on not so much the Raiders, but just the Roosters, because at their best, I think they're just one of the best teams in the comp. But some standouts for the Raiders, I thought Matt Timoko was really, really good, as he always is. You can always rely on Timoko to be doing his thing. I thought Xavier Savage has been really good this year. He made a fantastic break down that left-hand side, just beating heaps of players. I really liked the duel he had with Dominic Young, 2 of the fastest players in our competition. Didn't fully get to see him in open speed, but there were a couple times where, like, a player got into open space, and Savage, you know, knew he had him, so he could just line him up for the perfect tackle. So I thought Xavier Savage was really, really good in this one, and I think he's having a fantastic season and very underrated. We all know him for the highlight reels, but consistently, I think he's been really, really good. Ethan Strange, he was good, but he had a few moments in defence that I think he'd like back. You know, again, he's still a rookie. Let's all remember that. He's having a really good season, but there's still a lot more growing in him. Kale Weeks, he was good. He showed off his speed. Joseph Tarpany was probably the standout for the Raiders, or maybe even Hudson Young. But Tarpany, his stats were 19 runs for 175 metres at front row. He played 60 minutes as well, and he punched out 30 tackles of himself. Hudson Young, Hudson Young missed 7 tackles. You could have fooled me, because I thought he was everywhere. And again, it's the effort areas that make it count for Hudson Young. Watching him chase back and do that ankle tap on Luke Keary when the game's almost already dead and buried. And, you know, they still scored off it because Keary offloads to Tedesco, but Those are the effort areas you want in a player. He's one of the heart and souls of this side, and he's also going to be so good for us in New South Wales in Origin. So really excited about that. Scored a nice try again, as he always makes a habit of, did Hudson Young. Beyond that, yeah, not too much to note. I think Elliot Whitehead got really lucky not to be sent from the field for the way he was chatting to the referee in this one. While we're on the refereeing, I loved the refereeing in this game, to be honest. I don't think there was a point in this game that I really thought the referee was poor. You know, in fact, he might have been too good that he didn't send Elliot Whitehead from the field. So there's that, which is stark contrast to the game before it, which I forgot to mention. But we do actually need to. I think it might have been the Cowboys Tigers game. It would have been actually. We need to start penalising players after a team commits two, or like even. So if you're defending your line and you give away a 6 again, fine. Blow the whistle for a 6 again, referee, once. But after that, when they do it again, that's a penalty. I'm so sick of just teams constantly doing it. I know Bloke in a Bar brought it up, so I'm not like reinventing the wheel here. I'm not saying that I thought of this. But it is ridiculous that teams just constantly give it away. It's part of their game plan. Give away 6 agains, because what are they going to do? If it's already the first tackle, they just get one more tackle, and you're just going to keep getting your breath back because you're defending your line. You're not having to run back and forth, which is the biggest thing in rugby league, or getting off the ground probably is fitness wise, as I don't know. We need to start penalising after one, maybe at a stretch 2 6 agains before you penalise. But for me, it'd be 6 again, then a penalty, or maybe 6 again, you can blow a second 6 again, then it's a penalty, and then after that, someone goes for 10. Like that, it's just the way we're giving too many away, and we're just letting it happen. I think it's quite it's something we need to fix and look at, because teams are just using it to their advantage. But the Raiders-Roosters game, I thought it was really refereed really well, so I want to give a shout out there. But we will move on from that one into what should have been the game of the round, and it turned into a bit of a bloodbath. The Penrith Panthers defeating the Cronulla Sharks 42-0. This is a game I did not see coming. I thought the Panthers would be up for it. I mean, we always know the Panthers are up for it. But a Sharks team playing the way that they did at home, having this real opportunity to stamp their authority and be like, look, we can beat the competition. We've done Melbourne. We've done the Roosters. If they beat the Panthers here, there's nothing you can say about us that we can't beat the good teams. They had that opportunity, and they didn't. They really didn't, because the Panthers, they knew that the Sharks weren't winning this game. I've never seen a game so lopsided, and I don't think it's because the Sharks were like necessarily poor. They were poor in a lot of aspects. There's an error early from Katoa, then I think maybe a set or two later, Ramian knocked one on in their red zone, which is always tough. I'm pretty sure Panthers scored off both of those plays. And then, Neko Hines kicked 2 out in the full. But the thing about those errors, they weren't just poor, just lack of concentration errors. They're forced errors from the Penrith defense. And it's one of the best defensive... it's probably the best defensive game I've ever seen. Keeping a side like the Sharks to 0 is one thing, but the way that it's just... So their efforts to charge out and to put pressure on Nico Hines, which is why he put him out in the full, or to pressure those two players who dropped those balls, or just the way that they defended. I'm pretty sure there was at least 2 sets in this game where the Sharks made less than 20 meters in 6 tackles. I think it was like a 15-meter and an 18-meter game from the top of my head, at least in 2 sets. The Panthers team stats, they ran for double the Sharks meters with 2,003 compared to 2021. And that was from less than half the amount of runs. They were just making so many more meters. Their post-contact meters were almost doubled. They had 6 line breaks to 0. They had double the tackle breaks of the Sharks. They had an average set distance of almost 12 meters more than the Sharks, which is a lot. Their kick return meters were bloody triple the Sharks, more than triple even. More than triple the Sharks. It's just, it cannot be understated how good this performance was from the Panthers. And once again, without Nathan Cleary. And I know Nico Hines went down for the Sharks in this game, but he played a substantial amount of time before he came from the field. Let's see how many minutes he actually played. 31 minutes. So by the 31-minute mark, the Panthers were up 24-0. Just let that sink in. So it's not an excuse. I know that changes a lot of things. It's not the same as Nathan Cleary being out, because the Panthers knew Cleary was out and they could prepare for that. Nico Hines going down mid-game, it stuffs up a lot of structures and everything. Sure, I understand that, but it doesn't change the fact that they were 24-0 down when he was out there. It's a fantastic performance from the Panthers. I've never seen a defensive effort like it. And once again, that's led from James Fisher-Harris, who we will talk about. But let's try and find some positives for the Sharks. Jesse Ramian, I guess. You guys know I love him, so maybe it's a little bit of bias, but I thought he worked hard despite everything going against him. I know he had a couple of errors, but he also took 17 runs into the teeth of that Penrith defense, made 148 meters from that as well, and had 5 tackle breaks. He tried his heart out, and it's another reason I think he should be in the Origin side. I know that he had errors, which you don't want to see when it comes to Origin, but again, it's the work rate from him, and I think you're going to see those sort of errors from players like Sully and Zach Lomax, who have been picked ahead of him regardless. So yeah, Jesse Ramian would be in my Origin side. Beyond that, for the Sharkies, look, I won't lie, it's pretty grim. Look at the meter counts, by the way. I'll read this out to you. So there were 3 players in the entire Sharks team who ran for over 100 meters, which were Sione Katoa, Jesse Ramian, and Kale Ero, who ran for 114, 148, and 116 respectively. The forward pack from this Sharks side, we had Hazelton run 7 times for 57 metres. Kaufusi 4 times for 31 metres. Britton Nikora 7 times for 56 metres. Teague Wilton 11 times for 85. McInnes 7 times for 53. Jack Williams 7 times for 56. 4 times for 32 for Siasifa Talakai. 3 times for 36 from Royce Hunt. And 3 times for Tuku Hautapua for 19 metres. It is simply extraordinary how good the Penrith defense was. I wish I had more words to describe it. It's sort of just something you have to watch and just be in awe of. It wasn't my most entertaining game from that standpoint, because I wanted a much more closer game, but you just got to be in awe of this Penrith Panthers team. Unfortunately, Sharkies, not too much to note. I thought Royce Hunt was pretty decent in his minutes on the field. Besides that, genuinely not much else. So let's go over to the Penrith Panthers. We've already talked about them as a team enough in their defense, but let's go through some individual standouts. James Fisher-Harris, let's start at you. 54 minutes. He was the teeth of this defense. We know the enthusiasm he brings to their defense. He's the leader of that. But he scored a try as well to go with 18 runs, 131 meters, a line break, and 26 tackles and 0 missed. 1 missed. There's a reason he made Team of the Week. I thought he was exceptional. Speaking of tackles, by the way, Mitch Kenny had 40 of them, so got to give him a massive shout there in a game that the Sharks essentially didn't have possession, and he still managed to find 40 tackles. He must have been going around tackling wingers with that many numbers, to be honest. But other players for the Penrith Panthers, Dylan Edwards, we mentioned briefly in our chat about the fullbacks, scored another try in this one, kicked their goals really well. 24 runs for 250 meters, 2 line breaks, 7 tackle breaks. There's a reason he's leading the Dally M count. There's a reason he's just got selected for New South Wales. He's been the best player in the NRL this year, and I don't feel wrong for saying that at all. I genuinely believe he has been the best. So another game for him, especially against a team that is as good as the Sharks. I know they didn't turn up today, but you can, again, only play what's in front of you, and Dylan Edwards has been doing that all season. Beyond that, for their back 5, Brian To'o actually only 17 runs for 149 meters, which could be the lowest all season for Brian To'o. It'd be up there. His wing partner, actually, Sania Taruva, had 22 runs for 211. I thought Taruva was fantastic. But yeah, good to see him topping the meter count of To'o, but it doesn't really matter when you've got these sort of players. Even, Isaac Tungo, 151 metres as well. When you've got those players that can just do it, doesn't matter who's topping it. You just know you've got that work rate. Jack Cole thought had a really good game in this one as well. He scored a try in only 66 minutes. He came from the field. I think it was with the HIA. Can't recall that though, but he was fantastic. 1 try, 2 try assists. He had 89 run meters from 12 runs as well. 1 line break assist. Just really, really good stuff. I thought he combined really well with Jerome Luai, and I think there's no doubt that he will be the 5'8" next year when Jerome Luai departs the club. While we're on Jerome Luai, there is a massive reason why he made the team of the week. His game was just absolutely extraordinary. Another try, so that's 2 tries in 2 weeks. Is it from Luai? Yeah, I believe so. His first 2 tries of the season. 17 runs, 124 metres, another try assist, 2 line breaks, 2 line break assists, 9 tackle breaks, 5 offloads. The forced dropouts in this game was some of the craziest stuff I've ever seen too. So let me see if I can find the stat on that, because it was about, I reckon it was 3 or 4 sets where they just went bang, bang, bang between Jack Cole and Jerome Luai and forced some dropouts. Come on. Yeah, there it is. One forced dropout from Jack Cole and 3 from Jerome Luai. And I swear those 3... Oh, and also 1 from Lindsay Smith. True! Lindsay Smith with the great grubber kick. I forgot about that when they were just throwing her out on the 5th tackle. Ended up in Smith and he forces a dropout. I'm pretty sure all of those were like in succession too. It was just so crazy the way Penrith controlled this game. God, it's ridiculous. They're so scary. I've sort of not been ruling them out, but having my reservations on whether they could do it again, not on any valid evidence, just more so surely 4 in a row is too much. I don't think 4 in a row is too much from now, because what they're doing is just ridiculous. This, as I said, it's one of the greatest defensive games I've ever seen. Isaiah Yeo, 25 runs, 195 metres from Isaiah Yeo. Just what? Beyond that, he had an offload and probably 50 tackles as well. 28, wow. Shit game from Isaiah Yeo, scrap that. Lindsay Smith played 65 off the bench. Liam Henry scored a try off the bench and was excellent. There's not much more you can say about this Panthers side. I probably haven't said enough, but yet... this is the Penrith Panthers. Every single week, they're the best side in the NRL, and they have been for the last 3 years. So if you're not hearing me praise them, you can go to any other podcast out there, and guess what? They're getting praised because they are the best, and that it's as simple as that. We'll move on from the game, though. Just the last crazy stuff, and I'm very worried about the Panthers. But we will move on to the Rabbitohs and the Eels. Very stark contrast from that game in terms of the top, 2 teams in the NRL, at least top 4 teams going at it. And then 2 of the worst sides in the NRL going at it in this one between the Rabbitohs and the Eels. And I don't say worst as in clubs or culture or anything, just where they're placed on the ladder or how they've been performing this year, I should say. But it was entertaining. Let's be real, it wasn't the best performance from either side, but the Rabbitohs, they got away with the win 42-26. So that's their 2nd win of the season, which is awesome to see for them in Indigenous round, which we know of all clubs in the NRL, maybe excluding the Warriors, because they take their culture very, very seriously as well, and their Indigenous cultures there very seriously. But I guess in terms of all the Australian teams, the Rabbitohs, I'd be hard-pressed to say that they probably have the most connection to the culture, into Indigenous culture, of all teams in the NRL. So it's really good to see them, if they're going to get a win, it's good to see them do it in this fashion, and to see the players that they have in their team go as well as they did. Alex Johnston, who's an Indigenous man, scoring another try, as he always does. Latrell Mitchell playing out of his skin. It's just always really good stuff to see. So happy for them to get this win. The Eels, it's a very worrying time for the Eels. I mean, I think everybody's lost hope that they can even compete. I know they've still got Mitch Moses and Clint Gutherson coming back, and I know that they will strengthen this team. But I think the ship has sailed on them being finals contenders at all, especially with the sacking of Brad Arthur, which I don't agree with, but we won't go too much into that. I still think Brad Arthur there's little coaches on the market at the moment. I think Brad Arthur, with everything he's done for this side, should have stayed, but hey, that's just me. It's a dark time for the Eels, but we'll try and find a couple positives in their side. You know what? One of them, Mike Acevo, I thought had one of his better games of the season. Still has a couple errors. He dropped one quite early on where he just never looked like catching it. Was running sort of backwards and stumbling over, and then they dropped it. But beyond that, I thought he was good. He got through more work than I usually see from him, which is what we want from a player of his size. He also, scored a double, had a try assist as well. So 11 runs, 162 metres, 2 tries, 1 try assist, 3 tackle breaks. 3 line breaks, 8 tackle breaks. It was a much better performance from Mike Acevo. Hopefully he can cut those errors out and just be one of the best wingers in the game, because we all know he can be. Blaze Talangi, once again at fullback, scoring a try, having 145 metres, having a try assist, a line break assist, 5 tackle breaks. Look, at this point, I'm a massive Clint Gutherson fan. I think his best position's fullback, and, we think over the last couple of years, Gutho last year was one of the best fullbacks in the NRL. Even the last couple of years he has been. I still think his best position is fullback, but now I think that you're in a transition period. Blaze Talangi is the future. You're no longer that side that we thought could challenge for the 8, which, I thought coming into this season. I think Blaze Talangi should keep the role, and that it sort of pains me to say. It means Gutho will move to the centres, which I think he'll do a great job in. It's almost a waste having Gutho in the centres. He's such a good fullback, but I don't think you can move Blaze from that spot, especially because he's going to be your future fullback. So I think I'd say build towards that now. When Gutho comes back, I'd prefer to have him in the centres now. So just purely because of how good Talangi's been playing. So that's a massive testament to Blaze Talangi. Beyond that, for the Eels, Sean Russell had his moments, which, I'm a massive Sean Russell fan, so give him his dues. I'm actually liking him at centre. I'd still prefer him on the wing, but hey, what am I to say? Dylan Brown, he's always going to try his heart out for this side. Still ran the ball 12 times for 98 metres, and he had 2 try assists as well. Unfortunately, there's not too much else beyond that for the Eels. Morgan Harper, unfortunately, got a bit of a bath again. He's got a nice try, which is good for Morgan Harper. But, defensively and error-wise, it's tough. I really like him as a depth signing, and he had some really good games at the beginning of the season. But nowadays, I'm a bit worried of Morgan Harper whenever he's in the side. So, and look, he's not the only one. Don't get me wrong. This isn't me having a go at Morgan Harper. I'm actually a fan. But, there's a few things in this side that it's just worrying. To put it lightly, it's very, very worrying. So let's move over to the Rabbitohs. We're going to try and be positive here. They got the win, so let's be positive regardless. As I said, it wasn't the best game from either of these sides. It was a bit of a shit show. It was entertaining because I like seeing, points scored like this. It's sort of fun to enjoy. If it's not going to be if it's not a top of the table slog and you're grit and grinding, I'm all for a bottom of the table, just score points, because at least that's still a bit of fun to watch. And this game was certainly that. So Latrell Mitchell, we mentioned, he got a sin bin for, I think it was a hip drop as well. I think this one was worse than the Valentine Holmes one, but I still don't think it's a hip drop. And, it goes to show that because both Latrell and Valentine Holmes were cleared. Think of hip drops. Everybody's copping suspensions for him, left, right, and centre. Both Latrell and Valentine Holmes were sent from the field for 10 minutes, but they weren't suspended. So, I'm all for the crackdown, but maybe sometimes be like, guys, it's not a 10 in the bin. But Latrell, even in his 70 minutes on the field, was really, really good. 3 try assists from him, 1 line break assist. You got to love seeing it. I still want more work from him, but what I'm seeing in the runs that he is having now, it's not just meandering sort of across the field. He is running with an intensity and a purpose that I've always wanted to see from him. So I thought Latrell Mitchell was really good. And I think if the Rabbitohs are to come back or to make a really good season, I think a lot of it will be on Latrell's back. So really excited to see him with that. Not so much pressure, just that maybe pressure is the word. I don't think it is. I'm trying to think of it. But just that sort of role on his back, I think he will stand up for it. So I'm excited to see that. Alex Johnson scoring another try. That puts him equal second now with Billy Slater, I believe, as the all-time or the second highest all-time try scorer in the NRL, which is really, really cool to see. Beyond that, for the Rabbitohs, David Mwale, I thought he was superb in this one. He's an enigma. He has a really poor game and then an insane game, and he's still so young, so you can expect a little bit of inconsistency, but 20 runs for 185 metres with 72 post-contact metres and only one tackle break in only 42 minutes is ridiculous stats. So I think, Parramatta's defense didn't throw too much at him, but he was running with a massive intensity and enthusiasm, and he kept those legs pumping after contact. So thought David Mwale was really, really good. And Damien Cook, we mentioned, he made our team of the week, scoring another try. Pretty sure he was playing bloody fullback or 5'8" at that point, but hey, we'll give it to him anyway. He also came up with a try assist and played the full 80, making only 27 tackles, actually. Wow, Damien Cook, get out of here. But yeah, thought he was good. Sean Kepi, he definitely had his best performance in a Rabbitohs jersey. He scored a try as well and ran for 128 metres. Jairo was good, as he always is. I still don't like him in the second row, though. And finally, the best player on their team, Keon Kaloa-Matangi, exceptional. 80 minutes he played. He scored 2 tries. He had 23 runs for 231 metres at lock forward, and he had a line break, 85 post-contact metres, 9 tackle breaks, 4 offloads, and 33 tackles. Just simply an Adonis out there was Keon Kaloa-Matangi. So, yeah, what more can you say about that? Just one of the best performances, one of the best individual performances this season. And lastly, a shout out to Dion Teapau. I definitely get the name wrong, but the young halfback who came into this game again for Cody Walker, he scored his first NRL try, and he had a good game as well. So look, really good stuff for the Rabbitohs. I think it's a nice just little reprieve as a fan. This season's, it's all gone to shit and it couldn't be worse, and you're depressed. I can imagine you are. But having these ones thrown in is just good, and it gives you faith and belief, and it's just good to see your boys get up for a round like this. So I'd be quite proud of this effort. Regardless of it not being the best footy out there, it doesn't matter at this point. You're not playing finals. Just go out there and get some wins and scrape together what you can. And they did that. 42 points they scored, so you got to love that. So really good stuff for the Rabbitohs. We will move on, however, to our final 2 games of the round, starting with the Broncos and the Titans. The Titans getting a massive upset. 36-34, they beat the Broncos in Brisbane. So it's a Broncos home game, and they went down to the Gold Coast Titans without their halves of Kieran Foran and Tanner Boyd, and no AJ Brimson, and no Jaden Campbell, and no Tino Fa'asuamaleaui. It is incredible that the Titans were able to do this. I know a lot of people are talking about like the Warriors injuries, which we're definitely going to get to. You guys know me. I'm going to harp on about how good it was from the Warriors, but let's talk about, I think the Titans won. It's slept on a little bit because the injuries have happened in different stages of the season. Like Campbell's been missing almost the entire season. Tino has been missing almost the entire season, and Brimo and Tanner Boyd and Kieran Foran have been missing the last few weeks. So it's not all in one week. They've had times to prepare and just throw players out there. But to beat the Brisbane Broncos, a premiership contender, last year's grand finalists, 36-34 with all of those players out when Brisbane are at home, it's an incredible achievement. They were so good. They leaked 34 points, which, look, I'm not going to hold that against them because it's the Broncos, and the Broncos, we know they can score points. Just getting a victory over them in any facet, in any way you do it, I don't care. Just the fact that you did it is extraordinary. So, I'm so happy for them. In front of 42,000 people as well. Could not have been happier for the Titans. We will start on the Broncos and maybe look at some of their standouts. It's a really disappointing loss for them. They've had a few scattered in there. They're definitely not as consistent or where we would like them to be approaching finals. You know, we're still a long way out and they've got a lot of the season to turn it around. But this is a real dampener on what's been a pretty decent season. This is not one that you should be letting slip. Fairness to the Titans, they have been better and better every week, even in the wake of all these injuries. They just keep showing up for one another. So they're definitely not the side that at the start that you think the Broncos should be putting 70 on them. But you still shouldn't be losing this game. And it's a bit of a worry. But we'll have to see how they bounce back from that in the coming weeks. But yeah, it's a tough loss. If you're a Broncos fan, you would not have liked that one. I'd know. We as a Wars fan, we were the team to give the Titans their first win of the season when we shouldn't have been losing that in New Zealand in Anzac round. After everything else, we had no reason to lose that game. And we did. You guys had no reason to lose this game, and you did, to give them their second win of the season. So I know exactly how you feel. It's just the way you bounce back from it. But yeah, tough old game for the Broncos. In terms of their standouts, Reece Walsh, again, not his best game of the season, but he just keeps standing up and delivering in entertaining ways. 14 runs, 182 metres, 2 try assists, 2 line break assists, 2 line breaks and 4 line break assists, and 7 tackle breaks. He's so fun to watch. I'm not going to repeat everything I say each week, but yeah, he's really entertaining to watch. I love owning him in Supercoach for the first time in my career. Owning him in Supercoach is so fun because I just get to sit back and watch him do his thing, and that's really cool. Beyond that, Corey Oates was quite good. The best part about Corey Oates, he's been very safe, which I think I said it last week, but I want to do it again this week. Everyone's quick to call him out when he has those shockers, those Barry Crockers, and he drops those balls. But when he's safe, nobody bats an eye. He was incredibly safe in this one, scored a nice try, almost scored a try as well at the end or nearing the end, which essentially would have won Brisbane the game if he wasn't run down by a fantastic tackle from Tom Weaver, essentially a game changer. So, yeah, massive credit to Tom Weaver there, but that's not a Corey Oates error. He was so good in this one. Josiah Karapani, he was, he's another one of those exceptional blends of size, speed, agility. It's crazy how he can just go through contact. Very similar sort of style to Tony Staggs, how fast and strong and everything about it, which is why he's been ideal to replace Staggs. I know Selwyn Cobbo actually moved to the right in this one, so he was the Staggs replacement. But Josiah Karapani in the centres, it's one that the Rabbitohs let slip because I'm sure they'd love to be having someone of his ability at the moment. 13 runs, 179 metres, 1 try assist, 2 line breaks, 5 tackle breaks from Josiah. Genuinely, the way he was moving in the lead up to the Corey Oates try, mental stuff. He did also, he had a few blunders. He threw one of the worst passes I've seen in my entire life, which should have been another try, and he just threw it directly into the crowd instead of to an unmarked Corey Oates for it would have been Corey Oates' double. But yeah, he had that original one to Corey Oates where he just beat half the Titans team and offloaded to Oates. He had another one where he broke through, I can't remember who. Let's do the try scorers and see if it jogs my memory. No, got nothing for you. But he did have some really good moments, and yeah, as I said, just an athlete. The athletes of today are terrifying because seeing someone like him, there's no reason he should be moving the way he is when he's his size and as strong and far. It doesn't make sense. It makes me quite jealous. So massive stuff from Josiah Karapani. Definitely some blunders, but he's rough around the edges. But yeah, I think there's a lot to him. So love that from him. Selwyn Cobbo, he had his moments as well. Scored a nice try for putting a massive fend on Alofiana Khan-Pereira. Dean Mariner, whenever he found space, he was just putting on the Jets. Speaking of putting on the Jet, no, we'll save that. But Lofiana Khan-Pereira, God, he's fast. The way, Ezra Mam made a 95 metre try where he just scooped up a great kick that they put in and just raced the length of the field, which is just great instincts from Ezra Mam, and you love seeing it. And he's fast. His acceleration, Mam, is up there with the best I've seen. But the way Alofiana Khan-Pereira just mowed him down from the other side of the field, he missed the tackle. Ezra Mam put a little bit of a move on him. But watching Loffy, like Ezra Mann was moving, he was quick, and Loffy was just coming across and just eating him up. Didn't even look like Loffy was at full pace, so it's kind of cool seeing speedsters like Dean Mariner and, Lofiana Khan Pereira go at it. We mentioned Dominic Young and Xavier Savage earlier. It's really fun seeing fast players go up against each other. We mention it every week. Ezra Mam, he did score that brilliant try, and he had, some decent moments in attack. He didn't run the ball nearly as much as I would have liked, though. I think, for someone who had the chance, he was definitely in the Origin conversation at 5'8". He had that chance to do that. I think he really let it slip in this one. He needed to come out and put his authority on this game and put the Titans to the sword and have a blinder. And he didn't have a bad game, but I needed more from Ezra Mam in this one. Unfortunately, only 2 runs for the game. Yeah, those 2 runs ended up being 139 metres because 95 of them were in 1 run or something. But yeah, 2 runs is just not good enough for someone. Like, that's his best asset, Ezra Mam. So I would have liked to see a bit more from him. Beyond that, Corey Jensen, fantastic in the middle. Very unfortunate to see him not get named for Queensland, I believe. Thought he had done so much to deserve that. 12 runs, 151 metres from Corey Jensen. And it's all just truck and nut up the middle. He was really good. Payne Haas, though, made our team of the week in a losing effort. What more can you say about Payne Haas? Another try, which he's not accustomed to, but he keeps them coming. 19 runs, 235 metres from Payne Haas as well. 102 post-contact metres. Throw in an offload and throw in 42 tackles with 1 missed. And he's not only the best front row in the competition, I genuinely think he's a top 5 player in the NRL. It's so mental what he can do. He'll go down as the greatest front rower of all time if he stays in our game and stays healthy. So, yeah, I mean, he's 23, 24? I think he's maybe a year older than me. So 24, 25, I might want to say. He's not even at his prime yet, to be honest. And I don't know how he can get better, but I think he will. So Payne Haas, God, he's just, what can you say? Played the full 80. What? I swear he came off the field. If he played 80 minutes of front row, I'm in disbelief. That is crazy. Speaking of someone who didn't play 80, who normally does, Paddy Carrigan got a bit of a rest in this game. And you know what? I think this is where the Broncos went wrong. Now, I'm all for giving Paddy Carrigan a break. He works so hard, but it just seemed like when they took him off, they weren't even going overly well. The Titans were well and truly in the game, and they took Patrick Carrigan off. And it just felt like a move watching that live. This isn't hindsight talking, but watching that live, I'm like, geez, taking Paddy Carrigan off when, the Titans are playing some bloody good footy, it just felt like a ego move. We know we're going to beat them, so we can rest our star player in this game and just get him off the field for 22 minutes. When they were, they weren't beating the Titans by 30 points. Let's find out exactly when that interchange took place. There's a way we can do that, right? Sorry guys, this is great content. I'm not sure if I can find it, but there's usually a way to find when his stints were and when he came from the field. Maybe they got rid of that feature. Seems like they did, but yeah, it wasn't like that the Broncos were up. It seemed really egotistical for them to take Patrick Carrigan off, and what seemed literally just like we can rest him. It's only the Titans. And then the Titans just went on and kicked their ass. So it's almost a slap in the face. As I said, I'm all for giving Paddy Carrigan spells off the field. He works so hard, he deserves it. But yeah, 8 runs for 76 metres from Paddy Carrigan. His defence was insane once again, as we always see. The hits he does, the reads he makes, the kick pressure he does. There was one where they kicked down, I think Lofiana Khan Pereira tried to get around him, which you'd expect he would. And he, open space at the back of the field. Patrick Carrigan up against Loffy. You'd expect, see you later, Carrigan. But Paddy, he just read it so well, sprinted up, made that tackle. His effort is insane. He still made 41 tackles of his own. But yeah, it just felt like that sort of move typified the Broncos' loss for me. It genuinely just felt like a game where they thought, it's only the Titans. We're going to win. We're at home. We're the Broncos. We're up against the Titans. We win. We can rest Carrigan. And it just felt like a really vital moment in that game. So, I can't recall exactly what time it was, but go back and watch it. I'm pretty sure the scores were pretty tight. Maybe the Titans were even in the lead. So, felt really odd for that to happen. But beyond that, for the Broncos, look, not too much more to note. As I said, it's a bit disappointing for them to lose this one. Actually, it's very disappointing. So let's move over to the Gold Coast Titans and look at some of their standouts. Firstly, Keanu Kenny, who we mentioned probably should have been on my team of the week on the bench with the way he's been playing, but we went with our Warriors bias with Tomato Martin. But yeah, Keanu Kenny, I'll just read his stats. For God, his stats don't do it justice. You need to watch how exciting he is. This is the player that has been highly touted for so long. He's absolutely electric. And he goal kicked in this one. Didn't hit him too well, but he goal kicked nonetheless. 27 runs, 262 meters, 2 try assists, 2 line break assists, 5 tackle breaks. He was extraordinary. Every time he touched the ball, he looked like he was just going to run the length of the field. It's mental seeing what he's doing. It took him a little bit of time to get into it. Someone who, as I said, has been very highly touted for a long time, coming through a crop of fullbacks at the Titans that they've got so much depth and so many great players between Brimson, Keeney, Jaden Campbell, even young Jalen DeGroot. There's some bloody good talent there. And Keeney, I feel like I've heard the most about Keeney coming through the grades than I have of any of the other players. And this is probably why this performance against the Broncos nonetheless was exceptional. Go back and just watch a highlights tape of Keanu Keeney's performance in this one. He was so fun to watch. Beyond that, Lofiana Khan-Pereira had his moments, scored another try as he always does. Brian Kelly, I thought was so good for the Titans. I've loved him this year. I mean, I love Brian Kelly at the best of times. I really hope he just stays with this team, and he can, on his day, is one of the best centers in the NRL. And I love anytime, no matter who he's up against, whether it's a rep center or anyone else, he just gets up for that battle. In fact, I'd argue he gets better when he's up against better players at center. In this game, he scored a try. He had 19 runs for 219 meters. Of course, he had the line break there, 4 tackle breaks, 3 offloads, and once again defensively, which has been a bit of an issue for him. I thought he was much better in this one as well. So, yeah, massive shout out to Brian Kelly. Exceptional game from him. Loving what I'm seeing from him. Tony Francis is one we highlighted in the sort of previews for this one. Making his NRL debut on that wing. We are massive. I am a massive fan of Tony Francis here. He only played 24 minutes. In that time, he scored a try, which those are going to come thick and fast for Tony Francis. I think that's not what we're after. We just want to see everything else that he does. But in his 24 minutes on the field, he had 7 runs for 81 run meters. He came off the field with a shoulder injury in this one. So for 24 minutes on the field to make 81 meters from 7 runs, score a try, and then lastly, he came back onto the field while injured, and he made technically not a tackle, but the pressure and the sprinting inside in defense that forced the Brisbane error in the final play of the game to stop them from winning the game. So while injured, literally he had come from the field and he came back on and still did that while injured. So that's the sort of stuff. It's not the debut I wanted for Tony Francis, but it's honestly, it could be better to show that sort of grind. I reckon he's going to have these highlight plays. He's going to have that workload, but to have those sort of plays, it could be more than what I asked for from Tony Francis in only 24 minutes. So massive congratulations for your NRL debut. Yeah, love what I see from you. I can't wait to see him forge out a good career here at the Titans. Hopefully he sticks around. Chris Randall, really good. I love the try he scored sweeping over to the left. No, was it over to the right? He burnt someone. This is a hooker, lock forward, if you will, playing 5'8", and he just burnt an outside back on the outside and scored a great individual try. I thought he was great. Tom Weaver has been really good since playing halfback, since coming into the grade at halfback this year. I thought he's been quiet in his last, year or two. But this year, I think he's been really good the last couple of games, really controlling the side. As I said, that tackle he made on Corey Oates to save that try is one of the best you'll see. I love a good try saver like that. So massive shout out to him. Fodawaker punched out 67 minutes in another Origin audition tape. 15 runs, 157 meters from him. There's no line breaks or anything in there, and 1 tackle break, so it's all truck and nut. Sam Verrills, I thought, was incredibly crafty around the ruck. Thought he had a great game at hooker. Josiah Pahulu, really, really liked him. Another one of those sort of just, we mentioned the exceptional blend of size, speed, power, agility of Josiah Karapani for the Broncos, and Pahulu is a front rower. He's not a centre doing it, but he just feels like that as too. He has a good step in him. He has that motor. He runs so hard. He's big. Love seeing him. 52 minutes he punched out in his first start, in his first year in the NRL as well. And he had 11 runs for 115 meters from him and 21 tackles as well. So really good. Dave Fafita made our team of the week. 75 minutes from Fafita. 20 runs for 230 meters, 2 try assists, 2 line break assists, 5 tackles, and 5 tackle breaks, 10 tackles. He almost broke as many tackles as he made, which is a bit ridiculous. He did miss a few, fair enough, but what he did in attack was exceptional. Bo Fermor we mentioned as well. A try from Bo Fermor playing in the centres. 19 runs for 214 meters, a try assist, a line break assist, and really good defensively as well for someone playing out of position. Cleese Haas was great. Keenan Paliasia scored against his former club in a season that's been quite disappointing for him. I thought he was really good in this one. Aaron Clark was great. Every single Gold Coast player I thought was really good. So even Jacob Alec, I believe it used to be Jacob Alec, but it's Jacob Alec Wenke, definitely butchered that, but he's added that name. I'm not sure quite the reason, but we would. It's probably appreciated if we pronounce it correct. He played 61 minutes as the 8. I think he came off the interchange, but he played 61 minutes in this game and was really, really good. Look, there's not much I can say about this Titans team. What a performance. I love an underdog story. The Titans are my second team, so I loved seeing this. So massive shout out to them for this one. Let's move into the final game of the round. My voice is feeling it, and it's probably going to feel it more because it is the New Zealand Warriors who defeated the Dolphins 24-20. Wow. Look, up the was. Am I right or am I right? I'm so proud of this side. Just through thick and thin, I've always supported them. And, this year has been tough because it's a year I've had hope, which normally I don't have hope. But I've had hope and they've been disappointing. But, me, I'm going to tune into every game and get emotional when it happens. Last week I was almost in tears. I might have been in tears when we beat the Panthers. This week it's almost as big of an achievement. We had a straight reserve grade side with the utmost respect to everybody that was out there. But these are the players we were missing. In no particular order, we had no Sean Johnson, no Roger Tuivasa-Sheck, no Chance Nickel-Klukstad, no Aden Fanua-Blake, no Tohu Harris. There's our 5 best players gone. Then we had no Rocco Berry. We had no Ali Leotawa. We had no the Luke Metcalf. We have no Kurt Capewell. There's more I'm missing, but just those names I've mentioned, I'm pretty sure we had 11 regular first graders there, or it might have been 9 or something. And it's not just regular first graders. That is Wade Egan, another player. Our entire spine was gone. Tane Tuapiki was also ruled out. The team list that we ended up playing is unrecognisable. Dallin Watene-Zelezniak played fullback. Adam Pompey and Moala Graham Taufa were the centres. Marcelo Montoya and Edward Cossey were the wingers. Tamaro Martin at halfback with Chanel Harris-Tavita at 5'8". Paul Roach played hooker. It's just the team. It's crazy that you're looking at it, and the first thing you see is it goes. Reading the team sheet from here, it goes fullback, centre, winger, halfback. The first 4 players, you got halfback in there because of how many outs there was. It cannot be understated how big of a win this is. I know it's in New Zealand, so I had a little bit of hope going into it, but when I heard Tane, I tipped the Dolphins. Keep in mind, I did it with a bit of a theory behind it that if the Dolphins won, I'm at least happy because I tipped them, even though the Warriors lost, which makes me disappointed. But if the Warriors won, even though I tipped the Dolphins, I'm happy because my team won. So there was a theory behind doing it. But I tipped the Dolphins before Chance was ruled out and before Tane Tuapiki was ruled out. And just, I don't know, man. It's, yeah, wow. It was such a great win from the Warriors. I'm so proud of them. I really, really am. Yeah. Look, it wasn't the prettiest win, but they played some bloody controlled football out there as well. So we'll get to the standouts. But yeah, just God, I'm sort of lost for words at this performance. What they did in this one and what they have done the last couple of weeks has been immense. And yeah, as I said, I'm so proud of this team. But let's look at the Dolphins. Disappointing win for them, loss for them. By the same token that we mentioned the Warriors win being fantastic, that's what makes it so disappointing for the Dolphins. They had to win this game. I know it's in New Zealand, so that's the one thing that you can say is against them, but they had a full-strength side against, as I said, essentially a reserve grade with the utmost respect to the Warriors side, almost a reserve grade side from the Warriors, who have been struggling this year nonetheless, and the Dolphins have been a top 4 side? Definitely a top 8 side this year. They had to win this one. They had to have. Look, they could have put a score on. If they won this one by 1 point, it might have been disappointing. But they lost, and that's what makes it incredibly disappointing because they've set such a high standard for themselves, and maybe that's unfair because we know that they're a club in their second year of existence. But the standard they've set is so high that games like this are really, really bad to lose. It's tough. You know, I think they're still... I'm almost convinced they're a top 8 side for the rest of the season. I think they make the 8 by the end of the year, and this is one that they let slip, but the better sides aren't letting this slip, except the Panthers last week. But maybe it's just because the Warriors reserve grade side's actually the best team in the competition. Maybe that's the case. I don't know. We'll have to see. Dolphins... Look, let's look at some standouts at least. Herbie Farnworth, who made our team of the week, was one of the best players of the entire round. I know the Dolphins lost, but he scored his own try just running bloody hard off an inside ball and put a great step on. I can't remember who he stepped, but he's at such high speed that they've planted their feet to make this to brace and make this tackle, and he's still at that speed, bang off the left, gets and just pushes his way through. It was great stuff. He made a clean line break running through the middle and found the Hammer, who sprinted away for another try there. There's 2 tries he's directly involved in. He made a fantastic cover tackle, a try saver on, might have been Dallin. I can't recall who it was on, but he had a try saver thrown in there. There's 3 essentially, what's that, like 12 points. You could even argue 18 points that he's directly responsible for in this game. He was absolutely outstanding, even beyond the ones that were just, as I said, involved in tries or saving tries. Every run he had, he was breaking tackles. He was running with so much heart. It was a crazy performance. He had 18 runs for 198 meters. As I said, the try assist, the try, 3 line breaks, 13 tackle breaks from Herbie Farnworth. Jesus Christ. 1 offload thrown in there. Probably didn't miss a tackle. 14 tackles and 1 missed. It was one of the best performances I've seen. He was immense. It's really disappointed the rest of the Dolphins team didn't get off the back of that. I thought Hamiso Tabuai-Fidow, he scored a try simply supporting off the back of Herbie, but I didn't think he brought as much as I'd expected from him. I wanted to see a lot more, especially in the lead up to Origin. I know he's coming back from injury, and he wasn't bad at all, but I wanted more from Hammer, or I at least expected more from Hammer. Jermaine Asako, he was good. He scored 2 tries. Jack Bostock, I thought, was really good. He had his moments on the left-hand side, making a few line breaks. He ran for 179 meters as well. Jake Averillo was decent. It's really weird to see how this one come from. I think a lot of it came from just the Warriors' scrambled defense. The Dolphins, especially early, were, breaking them apart. They were hitting their structures and hitting their plays, and they were getting into rhythm, and they were making it work. I think when the Warriors' defense did fall, or they conceded a line break, the biggest thing for them was the way that they scrambled. Like, even in the Hamiso Tabuai-Fidow try, where Herbie makes that break and finds Hammer, Tamare Martin is an absolute full sprint making it back, and he gets pretty darn close to Hammer. There's no one who's catching Hammer, but he goes bloody close to catching Hammer and stopping a try there. It just goes to show the effort that the Warriors played with in this game. And I think maybe that's where they got what got them over the line. I think the Dolphins might have been a little bit subject to thinking they were going to win this one, maybe not easily, but they were going to win it regardless. And they maybe came in a bit complacent, and that's what let them down. Cody Nikorima had some good moments. He I think he definitely had the assist to Jermaine Asako where he had both assists to Asako. He had the ball on the right-hand side, which put Asako open, and a fantastic finish from Asako. Then he had the grubber kick through late in the game to Asako there. So I thought Cody Nikorima was good. I thought Isaiah Katoa had one of his worst games of the year, which isn't necessarily a knock to Katoa, because I think he's been ridiculously good. I think he's set a standard this year that is, it's immense. He's been insane. So he was a bit disappointing in this one, which is a shame. But you can't expect the world from him every week. You can't put it all on his shoulders at his age. Beyond that, Ewan Aitken I thought was really good. Connolly Lemuelu I thought had some good moments off the bench. But yeah, overall a very disappointing performance from the Dolphins. I'm sure your fans, you're well aware of that. Let's go over to the Wars, and I will try and get through as quick as I can, but I'm probably going to comment on every player. Such an insane victory. I've already talked about it, and I don't want to harp on about it too much. There's going to be every podcast out there that mentions it as well. Dallin Watene-Zelezniak at fullback. I love when he plays at fullback. I don't think he should be there every game. Definitely not. But when he does go in there, he's all heart. I remember he was named captain of New Zealand, the national team, a few years ago, maybe 2019 or something. And he played fullback there. And God, he just took it. He played so well. He doesn't have the ball playing or anything, but he wants his hands on the ball as much as possible. He's out there to just work hard and inspire the boys. And he did that in this one. It was a perfect example of that. When he's at fullback, he's going to lead through his actions. It's not what he says. It's not, all the fancy plays. He's definitely, as I said, he's not a fullback at the best of times. If you can pick players ahead of him, you do, because they have that ball playing and whatnot. But I think having him at fullback was the perfect recipe for the upset in this game, because his efforts were, everybody got on the back of that. He had 22 runs for 205 metres at fullback, had a nice little line break, 5 tackle breaks, 2 offloads. He was just, he tried so hard at the back. Adam Pompey, really good in the centres. He cops a lot of flack, but thought he was quite good in this one. Marcelo Montoya had his moments. Tamare Martin, we mentioned already. Look, again, a performance that's not fully reflected in the stat sheet, but he had a great individual try where he burst over right underneath the black dot, beat a few tackles there and slams over the line. So he had that. He had, they've taken away his try assist. He definitely had a try assist when I made the team of the week thing, but he also had 18 runs from your halfback, 98 metres, a line break assist, 5 tackle breaks, as I said, the try, 20 tackles from him as well. And again, the efforts from him to chase back. But for me, the big thing was the kicking game between him and Chanel Harris-Tavita. Chanel also crossed in this game and had a fantastic game, and I loved seeing him back from injury and back in the first grade team. And it would have been maybe 4 sets in a row, maybe not 4, but it was very, very in close conjunction with each other that Tamare or Chanel Harris-Tavita found the in goal and just forced a repeat set, and just kept turning it over. And that's not what the Warriors are known for. I mean, Sean Johnson's one of the best in the biz at forced dropouts. But normally it's just, we will, try all the tries and we'll score off them. And if not, then we'll go for it. The Warriors, it was almost a game plan for Tamare Martin and Chanel Harris-Tavita. They knew they were up. And these are normally energetic, enthusiastic players who just rely on their skills and their steps and their highlights. They played smart footy and they just kept turning it over in the in-goal line to the Dolphins and making them kick it out and forcing repeat sets. So thought they were so mature in the way that they played Tamare Martin and Chanel Harris-Tavita. Once again, not necessarily reflected in the stat sheet, but go and watch the game. Go see how they played. They were enormous. Beyond that, Bunty Afoa, defensively, again, he's just one of the best out there. Freddie Lussick played a lot of time in this one because Paul Roach went down injured, which is a shame. But Lussick was good. Jackson Ford, he's had his moments of being up and down all season, but I think he needs massive credit for the fact that he's still in this side, playing 80 week in, week out. Like, it goes, I think it flies under the radar in the wake of all these injuries, how consistent he has been. Yes, as I said, he's had those moments earlier in the season which were poor, but he just keeps turning up. 12 runs for 107 metres, and he made 48 tackles with only 2 missed, playing 80 minutes again. Just, yeah, want to give him his dues, give him his flowers. Massive respect to Jackson Ford. You know, I love this team. I love everyone that's picked in it. And I can be critical here and there, but yeah, I want to give the flowers to Jackson Ford. He's been insane. Mitch Barnett made our team of the week, and look, he should be in that Blues squad. We've already mentioned that. He was incredible. I loved how he was running off Tamari Martin on that left-hand side. Looked like he was always threatening. We always mention his defense and how hard he works for that. He's just one of the best out there. 20 runs for 183 meters from him as well. Just, yeah, so good, Mitch Barnett. He bleeds the Warriors now. I could not be happier to have him in this side, and I want to keep him until he retires. But he also deserves to be in that Origin side. So hopefully we can see him debut this year. But if not, I'm not complaining too much because it means we get to keep him for the Wars over that period. Then again, we only play one of the Origin weeks, so, you know, hopefully he can get at least a debut this year. Tomale, great. Jazz Tavanga, fantastic as well. Look, Marata Niokore scored a try in his return from injury. Everyone that I didn't mention, all love to all of you. You know, Edward Kossi and Mawala Graham Taufa, they had their, you know, errors. But again, they stepped in and they stepped up when it mattered. Edward Corsi, 19 runs for 163 meters. He worked hard. As I said, everybody that I didn't mention, I'm so proud, and you all played fantastically. There's not a player in this side that I thought had a poor game, and just you won that game, and you've earned the respect of everybody out there. I'm so proud to be a Warriors fan because of performances like that. But that will wrap us up. Once again, I've spoken for 2 hours. I think I keep trying to do these shorter. I don't think I can. I think this is where we're at. The throat's sore, the voice is sore. I'm ready to call it a day there. Got more content on the way once again, so that is a lot of more content on the Instagram. So if you guys aren't following, please go and do so at Chip and Chase Podcast. I cannot stress it enough. We've got a lot more coming there. But once again, thank you guys for tuning in. If you've made it this far, I'm so appreciative of you. You're doing the most. 2 hours of listening to me talk shit. It's a hard listen, but you guys have made it, and I'm so appreciative of you. But that'll wrap us up. So thank you guys for tuning in, and I'll see you guys next time.